GERO 200.
Oh, hi there.
It is Monday, June 20th, and yesterday was Juneteenth, but it's officially being celebrated today because it fell on the weekend. So happy Juneteenth if you didn't get to celebrate yesterday or if you are celebrating today.
Awesome. And she's doing much better, like I said.
Yeah.
She got COVID.
I got a touch of the Rona, which was alarming because I have leukemia and we don't do well when we get sick, but it wasn't too bad. So,
and why is that? No, you had special preventative medication.
I had a lot of medication on board, and I got a prescription for Paxlovid, which is for immunocompromised and older people, which helped a lot. So I'm back.
On the other side. All right.
I made it.
All right.
Hopefully, I don't get it again anytime soon.
All right. So we will be, as you guys have noticed, we are on it with your grading. And today is a big due date, so we haven't been grading like discussions and CTs or things like that because the CT2 was due again today, and the discussions were due again today. So then we'll be mowing down the grading, and do look at the grading because we are in there giving you lots of feedback and just really applauding you more than anything for doing a great job. And go back and look at your original posts because I'm going to say this, this summer, you guys have hands down been the most interactive group I've ever seen. And it's really cool and so go back and check out what, Johnny, take a look at what Berkeley had to say, and Tony and everybody else, just back and forth, you guys have been doing a really phenomenal job.
Yeah. And we love those discussions. When someone asks me for a letter of recommendation, you guys are all welcome to do that, even though it's an online class. We get to know you through your discussions. So later on, 2 years from now, if someone says, hey, I was in your summer 2022 GERO 200 class, I'll go back and read your discussion answers and I remind myself, okay, now I remember who this person was and I feel like I really got to know them. And so it is for us, it's great.
Very
Probably
cool.
Less fun for you than it is for us.
All right.
But anyway.
Let's get into it here. We're going to go into the next assignment for this week. So, and again, applaud all of you, all you guys, pat yourself on the back. Look at all the different topics you have now mastered. And I was hammering on financial planning. Okay, you guys are all going to be your own financial planners. You're not going to let somebody else lose your money. You can lose all your own. Okay. And now it's also really important. You don't need to hire an attorney all the time. You can be your own attorney, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So let's get into law and aging.
Okay. So we're going to talk about healthcare, power of attorney, living wills, dealing with basically what we call getting your affairs in order as you get older. And the good news about this is that we have these easy to develop documents that you can get free online. You don't have to pay for a lawyer to do this. You can get a form from your doctor or your hospital. You can go online. We'll give you some resources towards the end. And so there's no excuse to not have a healthcare power of attorney living will set up. And I recommend that people do it once they turn 18. You can decide who's going to make decisions for you. Typically it's a family member, but it could be a friend or a partner or a neighbor or someone that you trust. And both of our kids, who are not kids anymore, 26 and 21, during the pandemic, we updated our documents, and while we were in the process of doing that, I said, hey, let's set you guys up too. And so we set them up with healthcare power of attorney documents.
So there you go. So that's your charge. You guys got calling orders to go out there and go ahead and set this up. Be your own attorney, set up your durable power of attorney health, and then you're going to do it financial as well. And Julie's going to talk about that in the subsequent lecture. We already told you can be your financial planner, okay? So you can open up your own brokerage account if you're not working, and if you are working, then you can start looking into your Roth IRAs, all right?
Yes.
So should we go right into it?
Yeah, go into this it's a basic advanced care planning from the National Institute on Aging. And a lot of what people get confused about with these documents is just understanding the vocabulary and what it does and how it's set up.
Sorry.
And so if you're not used to the legal mumbo jumbo, it can be a little confusing.
All right. I don't mean to be anti. I accidentally hit the wrong thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get out of here.
Get out and try again.
Sorry about that, guys.
Nothing is ever perfect, right? Am I right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 years into the pandemic, we're used to this kind of stuff.
Do you want to have this magnification?
We can make it a little bigger. We can make it a little bigger. So
Almost
anyway,
there. Okay.
the idea is, so you're over 18. You still need to get a healthcare power of attorney or living will, because what if you get into a car accident and you're unable to make decisions for yourself? What if you have a head injury falling down the stairs in the parking garage? These things are unlikely to happen, but let's be real. People in their 20s are more prone to accidents than people who are older. Now, as you get older, like me, like John, and I love being older, it's freeing to say the least. As you get older, you're more likely to have a serious health condition. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I started to think a lot about end of life issues. What happens if I get really sick? What kind of treatment I want? What kind of treatment I don't want? Do I want my life prolonged when there's no hope of recovery? A lot of things like that. So there's a lot of things that you need to think about. And it's important to have someone that can make decisions for you if you are unable to make your own decisions. And so that's what advanced care planning is all about. You create an advanced directive. You're basically telling your doctor and your loved ones what you want if you are sick and can't make decisions for yourself. So, da, 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 da. So, what are the kind of decisions that you might have to make? Well, do you want to be put on a ventilator or respirator? Pre-pandemic, a lot of people would have said, oh, heck no, I don't want to be plugged in. I don't want to have a machine making me breathe. Then it turned out COVID came around. And for a lot of people, that was part of the treatment for COVID. Now, before you get to the point where you're intubated and on a ventilator, you are very, very sick. So you may not make it, sadly, anyway. But I think now a lot of people would say, well, try ventilator if I have COVID or something similar, and maybe don't keep me on it forever, but try it for a week or two and see if I can recover with that assistance.
If you're vaccinated now, okay, we do have drugs now, so this is unlikely to
Yes,
be the
yes, yes.
scenario. Okay?
Highly unlikely
If
to
you're not
happen to you.
vaccinated, then this you could be staring down the barrel of this.
Now, CPR. On TV, when people collapse to the ground and their heart stops beating, CPR works 100% of the time. That's not true in real life. For someone young, I always tell the people in my classes, if you're young and healthy and your heart stops beating, I'm going to probably take heroic measures to get your heart started again, because you have a very good chance of surviving without any problems. For someone who is very elderly and frail, the odds of surviving after CPR become smaller. It can get down to 1% if you are elderly or if you have a terminal condition like cancer. So anyway, so do you want CPR or not? So that's a conversation to have with your doctor. Do you want to be given food and water, nutrition and hydration artificially through a tube? Me, I'm always like, hey, don't stop feeding me. I want my food right up until the end. But it's also true that when you are in the final stages of life, giving someone fluids, giving someone food can actually prolong their discomfort, increase their discomfort, because you're lying in bed, you get this extra hydration, it pools in your lungs, it makes it difficult to breathe. So quite frequently, patients who are on hospice, the recommendation would be, okay, we're in the end stages of dying. We're not going to give this person fluids. We're not going to give this person food. And so it's an emotional concept to think about withdrawing nutrition and hydration, but it is one of the decisions that you might want to make as part of your advanced directive.
This is this moral UNESCO thing too, where people are essentially brain dead but can be kept alive.
True.
You
And so
know?
we've had an evolution in the United States from lawsuits over taking people off ventilators to lawsuits over taking people off of nutrition and hydration. And now, of course, we have a movement in the US for assisted suicide, where a doctor prescribes medication and the person takes it typically in the privacy of their own home without a doctor's supervision, if they have a terminal condition. So the laws have been changing really rapidly in the last 10 to 20 years or so in the US, and different countries have different perspectives on this. So certainly in a lot of countries, as a child, you would be expected to advocate for aggressive treatment right up until the person dies. It would be less common in other countries to say, okay, we're going to withdraw treatment, we're going to withdraw antibiotics, we're going to withdraw nutrition and hydration. But But we want you to understand what our situation, what our context is here in the U.S.
And it's these programs are called Death with Dignity, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So if you Google Death with Dignity Act, you'll see that it's passed in a dozen or so states, including California. So the other thing that you want to think about is hospice care and palliative care. Hospice care is a program designed for people who are terminal within 6 months. That's one of the categories that you are required to meet under the Medicare laws and insurance laws. So you have a life-threatening illness. Your doctor says, I think you have about 6 months. It's not an exact science. And then typically what's given in hospice care is support for the family, nurses, aides, assistants. They will give you medication to help your breathing, medication to help your pain, medication to make you feel comfortable. If you're having a lot of distress or anxiety, medication for that. And so it's really designed to help you feel comfortable as you go through that dying process. Most people don't elect for hospice until very close to the end, maybe a week before they die. I think research has shown that people who elect for hospice sooner live longer. So you may stop curative treatments. So if you're a cancer patient or a COPD patient or something like that, you may stop curative treatments, but you're going to get all these treatments that help you breathe and help you relax and help you feel good. So I am a big fan of hospice in appropriate conditions. Now, palliative care, you can get 40 years before you're expected to die. So let's say you have a serious condition, but you might have metastatic breast cancer, but you are not expected to die for 10 years, or maybe, between now and 10 years, there might be a cure. Maybe you're never going to die from metastatic breast cancer. So if you have a condition like that, but you have symptoms and things that make your life uncomfortable, then you can get palliative care, which overlaps with hospice care because it's designed to make you comfortable. It's designed to alleviate problems breathing, fluid retention, things like that, pain that a lot of us live with for decades before we die. So pretty much anyone with a chronic health condition is eligible for palliative care. Only terminal people are eligible for hospice care.
So the big difference is, one, you're getting medicine to actually treat the underlying disease, hoping to get better. The other one, you've come to grips with, I'm not going to get better, and I just want to be able to die in the least painful way.
Yes, and we've had in our own families very positive experiences with hospice care and with the support that gave us. My aunt had lung cancer. She was unable to handle the treatment. This was many years ago. Treatments changed quite a bit. His mom was 95. She was nearing the end of life. Same situation. So
it was just really done with it. She was.
She was very much done. So anyway, so think about what you would want. And one of the things I always say about these documents is make sure you go back and update them, say every 5 years or so, because as 5 years go by and a lot can change. Your family members can change. People will die. You'll get divorced. You'll become estranged. Your attitudes towards things change. Maybe you would have opted for more aggressive treatment when you were 20, and then when you're 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, you just have different experiences and different attitudes. So the whole point is you can have a living will, which is a document that tells your doctor, this is what I want. And you basically have a document that says, I do want CPR, I don't want to be on a ventilator, I do want nutrition and hydration, I don't want antibiotics. And a really good document will give you the option to say, try these treatments for a trial period of 7 days, or an appropriate trial period, and then withdraw them if they don't appear to be working. So lots of options under a living will. You sign it. You have it, you give it to your doctor, you give it to your loved ones so that they know what your wishes are when you're not able to make decisions anymore. Now, the other thing, which is what I have, is a durable power of attorney for healthcare. It's a lot broader. Living will is designed for when you're in end of life situation. What do you want? Durable power of attorney for healthcare. If I get into a car accident tomorrow and I'm unconscious but I need care, John can make decisions for me because I've named him my agent, just like a real estate agent. If I want to buy a house, I get a real estate agent to help me buy a house. I've named John my agent to make healthcare decisions for me. And if he's not available, my oldest son is number 2, my youngest son is number 3. As a lawyer, I like having layers of protection in case someone can't step in and perform their job. Then number 2 steps in. If number 2 can't do it or doesn't want to do it, number 3 steps in.
And as an agent, you become this healthcare advocate, so you can go in there and start researching. Being a Google Doc. You can find out what's going on, and then you can become there and you can be an advocate. Whereas if you did the living will thing, maybe that living will was drafted 10 years ago, and it hasn't kept pace with changes.
Absolutely, yeah.
In terms of healthcare.
Exactly. So the durable power of attorney for healthcare does give you more flexibility, which is awesome. And it allows you to communicate with the doctors, get healthcare information, etc. So that's really good. You can scroll down a little bit more. The other things that are pretty commonly drafted or adopted are a do not resuscitate order. So that's an order saying, if my heart stops, don't start it again. Do not resuscitate me, please. Don't give me CPR. And so that's very common for people who are older who have multiple serious conditions. My dad's 84. He's got COPD. He's got lung cancer. He's got bladder cancer. He's got heart failure. He's got a couple other bizarre, weird things. He's anemic, low platelets. He's got a lot going on. So he just recently talked to his doctor, and they put a note in his chart when he was in the hospital last time that he had a do not resuscitate order, because he's at that point where resuscitation probably wouldn't work well. You might have a documentation about whether you want to be an organ or tissue donor. A lot of times people have that on their driver's license in California. And so that's something that you can do. It's a decision that you can make before you pass away that would allow the hospital to harvest your organs and donate them. Okay, let's see. Oh, I didn't talk about pulse. This is kind of the new wave. So DNRs are just, hey, I don't want CPR. Pulse, which are physician orders for life-sustaining treatment, or MOLST if you're in New York, medical orders for life-sustaining treatment, give you more options. So that's kind of the new wave. They have adopted it in California. They're adopting it in states. Not every state. I would say maybe half the states have MOLST now. And so this is something that you would fill out with your doctor. You sign it, and it says, hey, here's all these options of treatment. I want this one. I don't want this one. I want this one. I don't want this one. So it gives you a lot more nuances than a DNR does in terms of what treatment you would get. Okay, so once you set up your living will or your advance directive, you got to communicate it. Okay, if you have it and you don't tell people about it, then it doesn't help anybody. So when John's mom was getting close to the end of life and she was hospitalized a couple times, we kept a copy of her healthcare power of attorney in our car. We had a copy of both cars so that if either one of us had to go to the hospital to see her, we'd have it with us in case we need it.
And in today's world, just you photograph and put it in your notes section on your phone.
Exactly, exactly. So we have scanned copies. I have them on my Google Drive. I've sent them to my kids, so everybody has it and knows about it. And it also helps with the advent of electronic healthcare records. If you have, like me, a bunch of different doctors that you see, I've uploaded it to my patient portal. So that's a new thing I've noticed in the last year or so, that if you go into your patient portal and you dig around, there will be a little section called Advanced Directive, and you can upload a scanned copy of your Advanced Directive there so that if you get taken to the hospital or if you get sick, they have it for you. So that's pretty awesome. So here's some resources. I really like caringinfo.org. I like the American Bar Association, but there's a lot of different places you can go. So basically every state has a free living will or advanced directive healthcare power of attorney document that's available. You can get it from usually from bar associations. You can get it from medical associations like the California Medical Association. And so there's a lot of different places to get it. The one caution I would say is they can be state specific. So we have these semi-generic forms that are good in like 45 states, but not every state. So make sure that whatever state you're living in or where your parents are living, that the form that you have works in that state, because a few states have little wrinkles that require special witness requirements or something like that. So when you sign one of these documents, because they're important legal documents, they're going to be witnessed by someone, either two witnesses, hopefully, that are not inheriting from your estate, or you can get it notarized by going to a UPS store or going to your local bank or something like that. So you want to make sure that your document's legit and that your signature has been witnessed or certified by a notary. Okay?
Right, cool. And choose your agent wisely. You know, if I was in that family that's being featured in that miniseries called Succession, I don't know who I'd be choosing.
Let me tell you, I can tell you some stories. If you've ever watched Succession, that is my family, except we're not rich. We're just freaking dysfunctional. So it is very nice to have these documents in order at the end of life so that the people you want to make decisions will make decisions for you.
She's talking about her two siblings too, but not this family.
No. Oh, yes. No, John's amazing and my kids are amazing and we're very grateful for them. So another little wrinkle for people who are not from the US to consider, we're very, very strong on individuality and personal autonomy and independence in the US. So the older person and their ability to choose is sacred in the US. So we want them to make their decisions as long as they can until they're no longer competent. We respect their right to choose. We respect their right to control their treatment. We respect their right to be informed about their treatment. And so that can be very different in other countries. Other countries might say, well, we want to protect the sick person, so we don't want to tell them they have a terminal diagnosis. We don't want to tell them what the treatment is that they're getting. And so that's very, very different here.
And that gets into the discussion, which is, you know, the differences in culture in terms of everything we've discussed in this class. But so we started talking about caring for older people, the big cultural differences that exist.
Okay. So our discussions about cultural diversity. Why does this matter? Why is this so important? It is so critically important that we understand that our elderly population is not monolithic, that all of the people that are growing old, whether you're in the US or whether you're around the world, all have different beliefs, different backgrounds, different education levels, different financial levels. They're all, you know, little snowflakes that are totally snowflakes in a good way, just like an actual snowflake that's unique and individual. And so in order to serve this population, we need to develop trust so they can trust us. And we need to be able to communicate so that we can explain to them what's happening and just develop a really good, positive, strong relationship to serve these people well.
Right. And you know, in your discussions, you know, Daniel and Ali and Ozzy and Ezzy, I mean, everybody's been really cool and giving us insight into unique cultures that you guys have lived in and how different everything is.
Yeah. So if we don't develop that trust and that strong relationship, it becomes very much more difficult to adequately meet the needs of the elderly population. So you can pop into the American Psychological Association website. One of the things I like about this is a very brief little page that talks about resources and how things are changing and all the different types of diversity. They highlight that our Hispanic population is growing in the U.S. Our older Hispanic population is growing.
We lost our graphics, but that's okay. The verbs are
yeah, you got it. So, so that's going to be the biggest group of elderly people right about now, from now to the next, say, 20, 30 years. And so think about the unique issues that come up when you're dealing with a particular population and be ready to communicate with them, you know, meet them where they are. Don't try to, you know, be the doctor or the lawyer or the accountant or the caregiver that's, you know, communicating from where you are. You got to meet them where they are so that they understand and appreciate what's going on.
Here's some links to further review that.
And go scroll down. Okay. They've got amazing links and resources to different groups on multicultural aging. Scroll. Okay, so if you look at multicultural aging organizations, there is a lot of resources in the US. And I wanted to talk a little bit. So let's think about the vulnerable communities. So when you're older, you're vulnerable anyway. Okay, you don't have your health or your mobility or maybe the support or the finances that you normally would have. Now, layer on top of that you're in another vulnerable population. So let's talk about our LGBTQ plus population. So a lot of our older adults that are now becoming, say, 70, 80 years old, when they came up, there was no gay marriage. There was no possibility of having children. There wasn't IVF. So they were coming up without maybe less family support. And now they're getting older, and it's a challenge for them to find communities with housing that's LGBTQ plus friendly. And so we've got to be aware of this, and it's an opportunity. I think we're going to have something like 7 million LGBTQ plus elderly people in the U.S. It's a great opportunity to serve this community.
And it's true of all the different communities that are highlighted here. So, you could be an entrepreneur and you can really, target the different people.
Sorry, my phone is going off.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop. Okay, there we go.
So anyway, I was thinking about the LGBTQ plus community because we're coming up on the seventh year anniversary of the ban on laws that didn't allow gay marriage. But anyway, think about Black Americans. We know from our unit on cancer that Black Americans have higher cancer death rates. We know from our unit on Alzheimer's that Black Americans are about twice as likely to have Alzheimer's as white Americans. And we know that racism equals stress. Stress impacts your health system and impacts your immune system, which creates health issues. So when we think about services for Black Americans in the elderly community, we've got to realize you're vulnerable because you're older, you're vulnerable because you're Black and you've been dealing with racism. And we've got to create communities that can communicate well, that can build relationships, that can protect these vulnerable elderly people from racist behavior. Same goes for our Asian community. We've experienced a lot of anti-Asian hate in the last couple of years. And so we've got to be aware of the needs of this community and make sure, especially if it's a community that may not speak English as a first language, that we're addressing communication problems and that we've got translators on board, that we're addressing cultural needs, religious needs, food. Food is the great thing that makes people happy when you get older. So make sure you're giving people the food that they like. Make sure you have the music that they like. Make sure that you celebrate the holidays that are important. And so the prompt for our discussion is, what would you do? How would you adapt your communities if you're in different areas of Southern California? If you're in San Clemente, if you're in Arcadia, if you're in Monterey Park, where John grew up, I didn't really grow up in one place, so I can't come up with, I grew up everywhere, but my family lives outside New Orleans right now. Every community is going to be a little bit different and have different needs.
My dog's going nuts over there.
Wait, do it this way.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that way.
There it is. There she is. Okay, anyway, sorry.
She's a senior dog. She's 13.
Yeah, maybe you're going to have a dog lovers community.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where I want to be when I get older.
Alrighty, guys.
So anyway, think about all these unique, rich, amazing communities that we have and how we can embrace who they are, what they've lived, what they've experienced, what's important to them when we create a long-term care community or other community that serves the elderly. So like I said, there's a lot of opportunities for business people, for entrepreneurs, for healthcare providers to really make things better for these different populations.
Very cool. Awesome.
Okay, that's all I got.
All right, guys, peace. We'll have another lecture later on this week that's going to be devoted to the financial aspects of caring for elders, okay? And again, the attorney durable power of fiduciary, where you're getting control over finances, which is also important. So,
All righty.
peace.
Right on.